Okay, so we're going to try our best to actually get through this with fluidity, legitimacy, and common sense. This is our 2020 NHL Mock Draft video using the current draft standings and rankings. Now, the mock draft is going to be a little bit different than all the other ones. Normally, I would rip something like this from TSN or Sportsnet and just do what they do and present it in a video like this, but because none of them actually did that, I have to form my own draft rankings using the TSN mock drafts and the Sportsnet mock drafts and matching them up in the order that I think makes the most sense for the teams that are in the order of the draft standings at the moment. Now, it's weirder this time because we don't know all the teams, and because the selection is more limited, we're only going to cover teams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All the rest of the teams from 9 to 15, we don't know anything about those teams. We'll know those teams once the play-in series later on in the summer ends up finishing up, because all the losers of those series end up getting sorted out by points percentage. We'll make another mock draft video once that comes out. But right now, this is what we have. We have a first overall team that is going to be a play-in loser pick. We don't know who this is, but we can still make our mock draft accordingly so. Second overall, we have the Los Angeles Kings. Third overall is the Ottawa Senators from the San Jose Sharks pick. Fourth overall, we have ourselves the Detroit Red Wings. Rest in peace. Fifth overall, we have the Ottawa Senators. Sixth overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks. Seventh overall, we have the New Jersey Devils. And eighth overall, we have the Buffalo Sabres. The first overall pick belongs to... we don't know. But because it's a mock draft, we're saying Lafreniere is going to this team. Depending on who that team is, we could see the potential of some other players maybe taking that top spot, but it's very unlikely. And just the way Lafreniere has been talked about in the media, there is no way this guy is not going first overall. So the real draft starts at number 2, and I have the Los Angeles Kings taking Quinton Byfield. Now, Lego, what are you doing? TSN's mock draft had Byfield at number 3, and you made a video talking about how some people have Byfield at number 6. NHL scouts, mind you. But in my opinion, Byfield just makes the most sense to go second overall. His untapped raw potential is so high, and the LA Kings aren't a team that needs him right away. Even positionally wise, they already have Vilardi, they have Turcotte, they have Tyler Madden. All three of these guys could be making their roster next season. Not to mention Jared Anderson-Dolan, they have Akil Thomas, they have a lot of good centers, and if Quinton Byfield is the elite number 1 center potential player that we all believe he can be, then the Los Angeles Kings can take their time developing him. And there's nothing wrong with getting another center who boasts such a unique skill set and sky-high ceiling like Quinton Byfield does. Third overall, it's the Ottawa Senators, and this one's gonna get me a lot of flack, because I'm gonna say the Ottawa Senators go with Marco Rossi. The Senators do not have that number 1 center in their system. They got Shane Pinto, who is really good. They got Logan Brown, who is really good. But aside from those two, I don't think they have solidified number 1 ceiling potential. Marco Rossi has just that. And the reason I'm saying that they're going with Rossi instead of a Stützle here is because a Rossi is a guy who already played in Ottawa for this entire year and last year. They're used to what he's bringing to the table, and he was the number 1 scorer in the CHL this past season. We recently made a video about the argument that you can make that Rossi should go second overall. To me, his ceiling is so high because of how he is able to play hockey. And the fact is, the Senators have another pick 2 picks later that can offset the potential loss that you give up when you don't pick a Tim Stützle. Going over to number 4, we have the Detroit Red Wings. They are taking that Tim Stützle. How poetic is that? Moritz Seider 1 year from the Adler Mannheim of the DEL. Tim Stützle the next year from the Adler Mannheim of the DEL. It just makes sense. And the fact is, there are legitimate arguments that have been brought up by people like JD Burke, etc., that say that NHL scouts don't really agree that Tim Stützle is a unanimous 3rd overall pick. Now, the TSN mock draft that was made a few days ago does contradict that, I get that. But it's been a topic that we've brought up a few times over the past few weeks, that Tim Stützle is not a lock for 3rd. There are some really good players in this draft, and the fact is, Ottawa has 2 top 5 picks, meaning that they don't necessarily need to take the guy that everybody thinks is the best guy at number 3, because you could really toss up who that best guy is. Ottawa is up next at 5th overall, and they took a center with their 3rd pick, meaning that with this 5th pick, they are taking the best goal scorer of the draft, Alexander Holtz, baby. We're not talking about Jack Quinn, I'm sorry. If Alexander Holtz was in the CHL on the Ottawa 67s, who are a good team, like Jack Quinn was, I honestly think Holtz would have scored more goals. That's just how I think. Holtz is a vicious goal scorer with a really good shot, and a guy who can just pull the trigger from anywhere. The guy knows how to score goals. He was scoring goals amongst men in the SHL this past season, which is the top pro league in Sweden. He had a better season than Lucas Raymond did, and there's just so much more to uncover with his game. Holtz has so many qualities that make him more than just a goal scorer, even though the goal scoring is the best asset to his game, bar none. Alexander Holtz playing alongside of Marco Rossi and a Brady Tkachuk on the first line is setting the Senators up for the next 15 years of hockey prosperity. You could argue they should take an Askarov at this spot. I definitely would not disagree with you there. But just based off of the mock drafts that we've been looking at, Sportsnet, TSN, as well as my own personal thoughts and beliefs on how these teams should distribute their picks and how they will distribute their picks, I believe it goes this way. It's Rossi at number 3, Holtz at number 5, and the Ottawa Senators are taking away from the draft board just laughing. Next up, it is the 6th overall pick. We have ourselves the Anaheim Ducks, and they take themselves a defenseman off the board. It is Jamie Drysdale. No, we're not talking about Jake Sanderson. The fact of the matter is Jamie Drysdale is still seen as a highly touted offensive defenseman. We've noted in the video a few days ago that he may not be at the same level as a Quinn Hughes or a Cale Makar, but the fact of the matter is Jamie Drysdale is a fluid skater, and with the Anaheim Ducks focusing more of their youth on speed, skill, agility, and movement across the ice, a Jamie Drysdale fits that mold spectacularly. Imagine a power play with the passing of a Trevor Zegras, the skating and agility of a Jamie Drysdale, and whoever else you want to throw on that line. Cody Curran, I guess. You could say Maxime Comtois. The Anaheim Ducks have some really good prospects in their pipeline. Trevor Zegras is going to be immediately on the team next year, and Jamie Drysdale, in my opinion, could be a very good pickup for them at 6th overall. Alternatively, if you wanted to say, oh, they're going to go for Sanderson instead because they want a defensive, minutes-eating defenseman, they've had a ton of success with those kinds of defensemen in the past, then hey, all the power to you. It's just, in my opinion, it's Drysdale at this spot. Next up, it's the 7th overall pick. We have the New Jersey Devils, and they're taking a player here who I honestly think is kind of a steal at this spot. It is the genius himself, Cole Perfetti. We talked about how Marco Rossi was 1st overall in CHL scoring. Well, Cole Perfetti was 2nd overall in the entire OHL in points, and he was also a draft eligible. Furthermore, Cole Perfetti is not super old like Marco Rossi is. Marco Rossi, one of the older players in the entire draft. Cole Perfetti, he was born in January. He was actually born on January 1st. He's a New Year's baby. But Cole Perfetti was just under 2 points a game this past season, and his smarts for the game, his ability to just do things right, is so strong. This is the kind of player that you can play on any line and expect him to do positive things. Players get worse when they don't play with Cole Perfetti compared to when they do play with them. And this is a guy who, if you move him to the wing, you play this guy with Jack Hughes and Nikita Gusev, then oh my goodness, you have yourself a line that can contribute points at an astounding level. And the fact is, this guy is so good, but he may not even go somewhere in the top 5 because there are just so many other really good players ahead of him. But the New Jersey Devils, at least they don't walk away with Lafreniere. That would have been the crux of my existence if that were to happen. Hischier in 2017, Hughes in 2019, Lafreniere in 2020. At least that is not reality. And finally, we have the Buffalo Sabres, and they have themselves the 8th overall pick. They are taking, in my opinion, Lucas Raymond, a guy who, according to some scouts and some media people, NHL scouts may not be super high on, as to the same extent that Twitter people are and YouTubers are. So that's honestly kind of strange. Raymond is a guy who, in my mind, if he went 3rd overall, I honestly wouldn't be surprised because I could understand why. The Mitch Marner-like qualities and the offensive tools that Lucas Raymond has, they're spectacular. even though he played in somewhat of a limited role and he didn't produce to the best of his ability with the Frölunda Hockey Club this past season, Lucas Raymond has a skill set that honestly could see him in the NHL next year with. He is so good, he is such a strong player, and one of the more refined two-way guys. He just knows how to play the game correctly at both ends of the ice. But what we've seen in the mock drafts and some media people kind of lead me to believe that Lucas Raymond could drop down the rankings a little bit, and as a result, he goes to Buffalo, in my opinion, playing with Mittelstadt, playing with Eichel, playing with Reinhardt, playing with Dahlin. Oh man, that's ugly. Absolutely ugly. I love the sound of that for Buffalo. Maybe with a Lucas Raymond pick, they could finally get themselves out of the dumpster fire that they have established over the past few seasons, and maybe start giving Jack Eichel some wins. How about that? But if Jack Eichel wants players who can do well and just absolutely work their tail ends off every single shift, then he's gonna love having Lucas Raymond as a teammate for the next 15 years. So there you go, this is our mock draft for the 2020 draft thus far. We're going to have to make another mock draft video once the play-in losers are actually determined, because the point percentage is going to determine the rankings of picks 9 through 15, depending on who's better, who's worse amongst all the teams that lost the play-in series, and obviously one of those teams is going to be the Lafreniere pick. I swear to goodness, if it's Montreal or Vancouver, I will never stop screaming. Yeah, that's a fact. If it's Montreal or Vancouver. Also, if it's like Edmonton or Chicago, then my goodness, I'm really gonna be upset. But that wraps up our video here today. This is the mock draft for the 2020 draft. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you think. Social @Trost99. And bye.